Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we are going to talk about accounting for leases, and in this video I'm going to cover basic lease related terminologies, and we will also talk about lease classification criteria. And it's going to be a bit long video because I will try to cover every aspect. So here we go guys. So starting from the definition of lease. So first of all, you should remember the lease is the contractual agreement between a lessor and a lessee. Lessor is the party who conveys the right to use of real or personal property. I mean to say non-current assets other than intangible assets. Okay. So, and the lessee is the party who agrees to pay consideration for this right. And this consideration, I mean, so the rental or the installment, the lessee is going to pay for a specified period of time. So, in order for a contract to be lease or contain a lease, so both of the criteria must met. Okay. The first criteria is the contract must depends on an identifiable asset. Like the asset should be identifiable, which is the part of lease. And here, lessor does not have a substantive substitution right. Like he don't have a right to substitute the asset. But sometimes if lessor is going to substitute the asset with comparable assets, so asset still this agreement could be classified as lease. Okay, but overall lessor does not have a substantive substitution right. So then second point is what? This contract must convey the right to control the use of asset. And this right should be with the lessee. This right should be with the lessee. So how we can say this contract conveys the right to control the use of asset to the lessee if further 2 points are there. Number one is what? Lessee is the party who has a right to obtain substantially all of the economic benefit from the asset. And second is what? The lessee has the right to direct its use. If these two conditions are met again, it means lessee is having a control over the right of use of asset. Okay. So this what is the definition of lease. So here we go. Let's practice with the small example just to make it clear. The definition, please remember guys, note lease standard does not apply to lease of intangible assets or inventory. So here we have a small example. For example, Bentley Corporation has a written agreement in place to allow Regs Inc. to use scientific equipment with the book value of $75,000 for the next 5 years. So, guys, actually, there is a contract. Okay, and asset is identifiable because it is a specific equipment. Okay, scientific equipment. So then he told you Bentley has the right to replace the equipment with comparable piece of equipment. Yes, if they can replace it with the comparable piece of equipment, so then it means this could be classified as a lease. Okay, because asset is comparable. It should not be like that you are going to replace car with the motorbike, then the asset which you are going to substitute is not comparable. So but the rigs is able to use the asset as it wishes for the next 5 years while keeping any cash inflows associated with the output from the equipment. It means here, so even the lessor has the right to substitute the asset, but asset is comparable. So it means we can say first condition is met, and second condition is what? The lessee should have a right, should have a control mean to say he can direct, he should direct the use of asset as he want to use, and plus whatever the benefits are there, so lessee will take those benefits. So these two conditions are met. It means this is the example of lease. Okay, so we can say still it is a lease. Okay, so here we go guys, I hope it is clear. You can just go through the answer, this answer here. Now we have here basic definitions which are relevant to the lease, and it's really important. First of all, the first definition is called lease commencement date. This is what I'm going to talk about. Lease commencement date. What is lease commencement date? Like the when lease should start. Actually, The lease commencement date of the lease is the date on which lessor makes the lease assets available for the use by lessee. The day when the lessor will provide the asset and the asset is available for use by the lessee. So we will say lease has started from that date. Okay, this is what is called commencement date. And second word we have here, which is really important, which is called lease term. Okay, lease term is what? Lease term actually it is the non-cancelable period for which lessee has the right to use the leased asset. Non-cancelable period means say no one can cancel it. For example, maybe initially we entered into the contract for, let's assume, 5 years. Okay, and within this 5 years, no one has the option to terminate it, for example. So it means this is the non-cancelable period. If someone will try to terminate it, maybe there is a significant penalties are there. So this is what is your non-cancelable period. So this non-cancelable period, we have another really important point because it is a bit complex. So this non-cancelable period, sometimes it is covered by an option to extend the lease, and this option period is included in the lease term if lessee is reasonably certain to exercise that option. So first I'm going to explain till this. Let me just tell you what is the point they're trying to explain here. For example, guys, we have, let's assume, a lease term, I mean it's a non-cancelable period of 10 years. Here lessee has the option to renew the lease for further 5 years. Maybe lessee has made certain significant investments on the leased asset and he want to renew it, and the lessee is having the option to renew it for 5 years. Now the point is that should we say the lease term is 10 years or it is 15 years? Actually here what we will do, lease term should be 15 years. How? Because 10 year is the basic or non-cancelable period plus 5 for the 5 years. We stand for lessee has the option to renew it for further 5 years, and the lessee is certain, he is certain that he will exercise the option. So in that scenario we can add this 5 years in the lease. So we will say lease term is 15 years. So this is how you will deal with the option to renew it if lessee is certain to renew or to extend the lease period. So there's another point also. If you will look at here, point number two, I'm going to talk about here. So again, lease term could be extended. There is a second point. What if the option is controlled by lessor? So here we go. Just let me give you another example. For example, guys, here we have a non-cancelable period. Non-cancelable period, let's assume 5 years. Okay. And we have a option. I mean to say there is an option to extend it. For example, we can extend it for, let's assume, for further 2 years. But this option to extend is controlled by lessor. Okay. I mean to say if lessor will ask you to extend it, so you are bound. So you have to extend it. It means from today, as a lessee, we can assume, the lease period is 7 years because we don't know after 5 years. Maybe if lessor will ask to renew it, so we have to renew it. So we will say lease period is 7 years from today. Okay. So you have to remember there is another point, additional point is there, guys. So here they're telling you if the period covered by the option to terminate the lease, this is the option to terminate the lease, are included in the lease term only if the lessee is reasonably certain not to exercise that termination option. So what they're trying to tell you here, just let me give you another example to clarify this. For example, our basic lease period is non cancelable lease period is, for example, is 5 years. And here we have an option, maybe we have an option to terminate the lease after 3 years. For example, after 3 years we have an option to terminate the lease. But here should we say the lease period, as a lessee we should say lease period is 3 years, our lease period is 5 years, because we have option to terminate. Of course, if you are certain you are not going to terminate, you are not going to terminate after 3 years, so it means, so from today to onward we can say our lease period is 5 years. I mean, so lease term is 5 years. So this is how you will deal with the lease term. I hope, guys, it is Clear? Just you have to be clear with it. Just focus what I'm saying. So next we have here, we have another term which is called right of use asset. Right of use asset mean to say, here actually it represents a lessee's right to use a lease assets for the lease term, because nowadays as a lessee also we need to book asset with the name of right of use of asset. Okay, so because the reader can identify these assets are on leased, because when they will say, oh, we have a right of use asset in the balance sheet. Okay, so this is what is the right of use of asset. Then we have here another word which is called lease payments. Guys, please remember, lease payments you have to check at the lease commencement date, at the date when the lease will start. Okay, uh, the lease payment consists of the following. It could include, number one, it could include rental payments. Okay, rental payments, you can say it's a simply periodic installments or the rentals owed by lessee. Okay, and these rental payments might be reduced, like you can minus from the rental payments what, any incentives paid or payable to lessee. Actually, a lease incentive, I'm going to explain incentives now. A lease incentive is the payment made from the lessor directly to the lessee or on behalf of a lessee. Okay, so you should remember, like it could include what common examples of lease incentives are: a lump sum cash payment from the lessor to the lessee at the date of lease execution, maybe, or it could include a payment from the lessor to the lessee during the lease term to reimburse for leasehold improvements. Maybe it's a reimbursement of leasehold improvements. The third may be the lessor taking over a lessee's pre-existing lease to entice the lessee to enter into the new lease with the lessor. Maybe he's just trying to pamper you, like he want you to enter in another lease, so he reimburse some money. So these are called incentives. So you can reduce the incentive, but guys, incentive accounting is really hard. Okay, like because it depends when we received it or when it is paid by lessor. But here in your exam, he will tell you incentive at the date of lease commencement date. So you will just reduce the rental payment minus incentives. Then it might include what? It might include the lease payments again. The lease payments might include purchase option also. What is purchase option? Actually, it is the exercise price of an option to purchase the leased asset if the lessee is reasonably certain to exercise that option. Like sometimes, you know what happened? Maybe a lessor is giving the option to the lessee that the lessee can buy this asset at the end of lease period, maybe for, let's assume, $5,000. Okay, so this is what is called purchase option. Usually purchase option value is very low than market value, so most of the time lessee will buy this asset and he will exercise that option. So we assume here we will include this purchase option into the lease payments if lessee is reasonably certain to exercise that option. Okay, so you will include. If you are not certain to exercise that option, then you should not include in the lease payments. Okay, then we have a third point which is called penalties for terminating the lease. Like sometime, maybe if lessee will terminate the lease, okay, before the lease term, so there might be some penalty. So these penalties are also called non-renewal penalties. Okay, so non-renewal penalties are penalties for terminating the lease, are also included in the lease payments if the lessee is expected to exercise the option to terminate the lease. Like if he will terminate it, so he has to pay the penalty. So in the scenario, if you are expecting to terminate and you will pay, of course, you will pay the penalty. So that penalty should also be the part of lease payment. And sometimes lease payment also include one more point, guys. It might include also residual value guaranteed. Okay, guaranteed residual value, I mean to say. So here, what is the guaranteed residual value, guys? Actually, sometime what happened, under the guaranteed residual value, the lessee is going to guarantee to the lessor that the value of the leased asset, which will be the asset which will be returned to the lessor at the end of the lease term, will be at a specific amount. At least will be a specific amount. For example, let's assume as a lessee, you gave a guarantee to the lessor that your asset will have $50,000 residual value after the lease term. Okay. Now in that scenario, guys, this is what is the guarantee. For example, how you will deal, and sometimes this guarantee could be given by the lessee, or sometimes it could be given with the lessor. And how to deal with within the lease, that I will explain with the help of cases. So here we go. Let me just explain through the help of cases, and then I will tell you where to use which amount. Okay. So if you will look at here, this is what is the summary for lease payments. I told you lease payment include rental payments like installments. It might include purchase option. Okay. If lessee is certain to exercise that option, it might include non-renewal penalty, if any. It might include guaranteed residual value, a full guaranteed residual value, or guaranteed residual value owed by lessee. It's another, or guaranteed residual value owed by third party. It depends. Actually, you are doing the calculation for lessee or for lessor, or for it also depends. You are applying this cash flows in the lease classification criteria. Okay, that I will explain. Don't you worry. Where to use full amount of GRV, where to use GRV owed by lessee, where to use GRV owed by a third party. So let me just clarify these terminologies only. Use I will tell you, of course, with the each topic. Here we go, guys. We have here example for GRV. First of all, we are assuming lease period is 5 years. Lessee gave the guarantee for the residual value to the lessor, that the lessor can sell this asset to anyone at the end of the lease term, and lessor will get $50,000. Okay, so like you guaranteed for, as a lessee you have guaranteed for 50,000, but at the lease commencement date, the lessee estimates that value of the asset at the end of the lease term will be only for $40,000. Okay, so in this scenario, please guys, you should remember here, we have a full GRV by lessee, like the guaranteed residual value by the lessee is 50,000. But if the lessor will sell this asset at the end of lease period, so he can recover through the sale 40,000. It means there is a 10,000 is shortage, because you guaranteed for 50, but he can just recover through the sale maybe 40,000. It means there is a shortage of 10,000. So this 10,000 is called GRV owed by lessee. Owed by lessee. Okay. Now please remember here, because in some calculation, especially when you will do the accounting for lessee and you want to calculate lease liability, you will use this value GRV owed by lessee. Okay. And when you will apply 90% test, that I will tell you after a few minutes, so then you will use this value full GRV, which is guaranteed by lessee. Okay. And here we have a note: GRV is the guarantee for downward risk, not for the gain. For example, as in this example, maybe you have guaranteed for 50,000, let's assume, but maybe the seller will sell this, lessor will sell this asset for 60,000, assume now. Okay, it means a lessor is going to get 10,000 extra. It doesn't mean the 10,000 lessee will receive now. No, guaranteed for, you have guaranteed for the downward risk only. Okay, so not for the upward. So here we go now, guys. Sometime it's another note, huh? There are actually, guys, four words are there. Please, first is what GRV, guaranteed residual value by lessee. This is the one word, because you have to be uh, clear with these wording, whatever I'm going to explain now, because in different scenarios we will use different values. Okay, so then we have a GRV owed by lessee. It's different. So as in my example here, so GRV, guaranteed residual value by lessee, was 50,000. Okay, full amount of GRV, but owed by lessee was 10,000. Okay, and there's another word GRV. There is third word, guaranteed residual value. Okay, by third party. Okay, and sometimes there's another word GRV, owed by a third party. So these all are wordings, sentences you need to remember. So now I'm going to explain these two words, like what is GRV by third party and what is the guaranteed residual value owed by third party. Let's have a look, because in different scenario different value we will use. That's why I put this example here. So for example, here again we have a lease period of 5 years. Third party, here we have a third party. Third party could be any unrelated party to the lessor. Okay, gave the guarantee for the residual value to the lessor, that the lessor can sell this asset to anyone at the end of lease term. Okay, and the lessor will get $50,000. But at the end of at the lease commencement date, the lessee estimates that the value of the assets at the end of lease term will be only 40,000. Now, guys, here the guaranteed residual value, full guaranteed residual value is $50,000. Okay, so you will put it here. So full GRV by third party is $50,000, and GRV recoverable through sale. Like if the lessor will sell this asset to a third party, maybe he will get 40,000. It means there is again shortage of 10,000. Now this 10,000 is GRV owed by third party. Okay, owed by third party. So you have to remember, guys, these four GRV, like GRV owed by lessee, GRV by lessee, GRV owed by third party, or GRV by third party, because in different scenario we will use different wording, okay, and different amounts we will use, so that you will just realize after a few minutes we are moving there. Now, guys, most of the time we need to calculate the present value in the lease contract, because lease contract is for several years, so you are going to pay rental payments, okay, rentals over many periods. So you need to calculate their present value. To calculate the present value, we have a rule here, guys. So when you want to calculate the present value of minimum lease payment for the lessor, first rule for the lessor will always use the rate implicit in the lease, like the lease rate of interest which is included in the lease, the lessor, because he knows that rate, so he will use that rate. But for the lessee, so lessee will use implicit rate if he knows, like if it is known by lessee. For example, if as a lessee I know lessor includes 10% rate of interest, and this is known by me, so it means I will use this rate to calculate the present value. Sometimes the implicit rate in the lease is not known to the lessee. In that scenario, lessee will use his incremental borrowing rate, IBR, incremental borrowing rate, IBR. Okay, in which scenario, what is incremental borrowing rate? It is the rate that the lessee would be charged for collateralized loan with equal payments and similar lease terms to the lessee. Like if you will take another loan with comparable terms and period, so how much interest rate you will pay, that is called incremental borrowing rate. Okay, so two rules you should remember. Lessor will always use implicit rate, and lessee will use implicit rate if he knows. If he don't know, if he doesn't know, then lessee will use incremental borrowing rate to calculate the present values. Okay, now, guys, we have here types of lease. Actually, lease classification I'm going to explain now. It's really important, and here people always have a confusion. So we have here, guys, types of lease from lessor point of view. We have overall three types of lease under US GAAP. One is called sale type lease. Second is called direct finance lease, and third is called operating lease. Okay. Same way for the lessee, we have three types here. One is called finance lease, second is called operating lease, and third is called short-term lease. So I'm going to explain now lease classification criteria. Okay, lease classification criteria. So there are actually five classification criteria are there, which I will explain. So one is called TT. TT stand for transfer of title. Second is called purchase option, PO. Third is called 75% test. Fourth is called 90% test. And fifth is called specialized. Of course, I will explain these. So if any one out of these five, like there is a transfer of title, what it is, I will explain. If any one criteria is going to met, if any one criteria is met, so what we will say, it is a finance lease from lessee point of view, and it is going to be a sale type lease from lessor point of view. Okay, so this is what I'm going to explain, and I will tell you what other lease classifications are there. So here we go. First, we need to understand this lease classification criteria, and then we will learn how to apply. So, guys, first classification criteria is what? If any one classification criteria is met, any one, at least one of the five criteria is met, so we will say it is a finance lease by lessee. and it is a sale type lease by the lessor. Okay. So if any one criteria, so first criteria is what? There is a transfer of title or ownership, like at the, for example, if lease is for 5 years, maybe at the end of the 5 years, lessor is going to transfer the title of the asset to the lessee. If this is the criteria, this is the first TT, transfer of title. Okay, or transfer of ownership. So second criteria is what? You have to check the second also. What is the second? If first one is not there, maybe there is no transfer of title, then you have to check the second one. What is the second one? The lease includes an option to purchase the lease asset that the lessee is reasonably certain to exercise. Okay. For example, sometime it will be written like that, like lessor uh, uh, has given the option to the lessee that the lessee can buy this asset for 5,000 at the end of the lease period. If it means there is a purchase option. If lessee is reasonably certain that he will exercise, he will buy this asset. So it means there is an option to purchase. Check if there is any transfer of title. If not, check is there an option to purchase. If it is also not there, then you have to apply the third concept. Third concept is called 75% test. What it is? Actually, what you will do, guys, you have to take lease term. Okay, you have to divide with the remaining economic life of the asset, like lease term divided by remaining economic life times 100. So you will get the answer. If answer is 50% or 75% or more, I'm sorry, if answer is 75% or more, so it means the lease term is for the major part of the economic life. Lease term is for major part of remaining economic life. Okay, if the 75% test is there, so what you will do here, guys? Simply, you will take here lease term. This formula you need to apply: lease term divided by economic life times 100. If answer is 75% or more, it means this criteria is met. Okay, this criteria is met. Then, guys, we have here other fourth criteria, which is hard to apply. This criteria is what? Here you have to do. Please, here you need to focus more, because here we always have a confusion. Okay, this is really important. The fourth criteria is what? So you have to apply the 90% test. What is 90% test, guys? Actually, here you have to calculate the present value of sum of two things: the lease payments. Okay, it might include different cash flows, and any residual value guaranteed by lessee. This is really important. It's GRV by lessee, guaranteed, any residual value guaranteed by lessee. So you have to take lease present value of lease payment plus present value of residual value guaranteed by lessee. So you have to add these two cash flows. This is called your present value of lease payment. This is called your present value of lease payment. You have to divide with the fair value of the asset. Okay, fair value of asset will be provided. So you will divide and times 100%. You will multiply with 100 and check is your answer is 90% or less. If your answer is 90% or more, so what it is called? It is called, it is called what? Like the present value of lease payment is equal or exceeds substantially all of the fair value of the leased asset. Okay. So if you are paying almost more than 90% of the fair value of the asset, it means it is almost like you are purchasing the asset like it's installment purchase. Okay. This is called 90% test. And here you need to make sure, guys, you should not make any mistake here in the 90% test. I put the 2 3 examples here. Please remember here. So when you want to calculate especially present value of lease payments, which you will divide with the fair value later on. So here what you need to take, you need to take present value of lease rentals. Okay, present value of lease rentals, and you will add here plus present value of guaranteed residual value, or residual value which is guaranteed by lessee. Don't take owed by lessee, don't take by third party, don't take owed by third party. No, you have to take residual value, full amount of residual value which is guaranteed by lessee. Okay, and you will just make the summation of present value of rentals plus present value of residual value guaranteed by lessee. So you will get present value of lease payment. This you will put as a numerator divided by with the denominator, which is the fair value of asset, times 100. So you will get answer. If answer is 90% or more, it means almost we are paying substantial amount of the fair value. Okay, So here we go. We have a couple of examples to practice here. The first example, as you can see here, this arrow is with the present value of residual value guaranteed by lessee. Okay, by lessee. For example, they're telling you in lease contract, lessee guarantees that the residual value of the lease property at the end of the lease term is at least 50,000. And the lease commencement date, lessee estimate that value of the property at the end of lease term will only be 40,000, but you have guaranteed for 50,000. Okay. So when you apply this 90% test, you have to use this 50,000 in the present value. But when you will later on, when we will do the lessee accounting, you want to measure the lease liability for the lessee, then you will use residual value owed by lessee, guaranteed residual value owed by lessee. And in this scenario, owed by lessee, total is 50,000 is the guaranteed residual value. 40,000 can be recovered through the sale. 10,000 is owed by lessee. So when you want to measure the lease liability for lessee, so we will use this 10,000. And when you apply 90% test, you will use this 50,000, which should be by lessee, not by third party. Okay, not by third party. Okay, so here, this is how you will do it. Let's practice to apply this 90% test. Okay, because these questions are really important, guys. It's really important. Just I put it to make it more clear. So if we have a alpha company sells and leases unspecialized machines on January 1 year 1, alpha leased, it's on January 1 year 1, alpha leased a machine to beta company for 3 annual payments of 100,000 starting on 31st December year 1. The machine's remaining useful life is 5 years. This is for 3 years. You have a lease term 3 years, but economic life is 5 years. Expected residual value of the machine at the end of year 3 is 30,000. This is the residual value. It is the expected residual value, 30,000. But the beta guarantees this amount. This amount means that you also guarantee, beta also guaranteed the 30,000. Okay. At the inception lease, the fair value of the machine was 270. This is the fair value. And the carrying amount was 250,000. Rate implicit in the lease is 10%. The present value factor for an ordinary annuity at 10% for 3 period is this. This is the annuity factor. At the present value of $1 at 10% for period 3, this is the present value factor. Okay. Now, guys, simply because I want to apply just this 90% test. Okay. So what we will do here, guys, simply you have to calculate present value of rentals first. And there are 3 rentals, 100,000 each times annuity factor. Okay. Annuity factor is given here. Okay. You will get the present value of rentals. And then you have to take present value of residual value guaranteed by lessee. And by lessee there is only a 30,000 which is guaranteed times present value factor, this factor. I hope you know the time value of money concept. So once you will multiply, you will get the present value of residual value guaranteed by lessee. So you will just make the summation of these two values, so you will get total present value. And now what you are going to do, guys, this total present value you will divide with the fair value, and fair value was given somewhere here, like its fair value is 271 224 times 100. So if you will multiply, so I hope the answer will be more than 90%. Okay, so that is why we will say it is a sale type lease. I would say because 90% criteria is met. So this is how you will apply 90% test. Okay, I hope it is clear, huh? Then, guys, we have a fifth criteria. So we are done with the fifth criteria. This is also another example. Just you can. Okay, now, guys, here we have a fifth criteria. Criteria number 5 is what? The leased asset is so specialized that it is expected to have no alternative use to the lessor at the end of the lease term. Like, asset is highly specialized. When we say asset is highly specialized, if once the lessee will return this asset to the lessor have no alternative use of this asset. Okay, so we say it is specialized. If, guys, look at here, we studied overall 5 criteria. Criteria number 1 is was TT, transfer of title. You have to check, is there any transfer of title at the end of lease period? Check, is there any purchase option? Okay, like which lessee is certain to exercise it. If this is also not there, check is there any 75% test is met? Okay, like when you will take lease term divided by economic life times 100, this is how you will get the 75% test. If this is also not there, check is there any 90% test? Like as I told you, you have to calculate present value lease payment divided by fair values times 100. Check if answer is more than 90% or not. Okay, and the third last one, I mean, say the last one is asset is with the specialized nature. If asset is having no alternative use for the lesser, it is considered as a specialized. So if this scenario is also not there, so of course, what you need to do, then you need to apply now summary. What is the summary concept? I'm going to explain here, guys, in summarized way. This is for first for the lessee. I'm just explaining for the lessee. Guys, lessee is having a three types. Now, please, you have to understand now. We have a one, two, and three. Number one is called finance lease. If any one of five criteria is met, anyone mean to say out of these five, any one criteria is met, either transfer of title or purchase option or 75% or 90% or specialized. If any one criteria is met, so we say it is a finance lease for lessee. Second, if no criteria is met, we say it is operating lease for lessee. Okay, what are the accounting that we will discuss later, but it's classification. Now you have to look at here third, which is really important also to avoid mistake in the exam, which is called short-term lease. Short-term lease, I put there three words here, three statements. Statement number one, if no criteria is met, like there is no transfer of title, no purchase option, no 75% test, no 90% test, no specialized nature. If no criteria is met, plus duration of lease is less than 1 year, like the duration is maybe 10 months, 11 months, but it is less than 1 year, plus if company has elected as short-term lease, because company has to elect at the election date, so they want to treat as an operating lease or as a short-term lease. So if company has elected as a short-term lease, so we will say it is a short-term lease. Okay, and because short-term lease is a pure rental agreement and its accounting is very simple. So now, for example, assume here there is maybe, let's assume there is no criteria is met. Okay, duration of lease is also less than 1 year, but company has not elected as short-term lease. In that scenario, what you will do, it is called your operating lease. Okay, so for to classify as short-term lease, these three conditions must met. No criteria is met, duration of lease is less than 1 year, plus company has elected as short-term lease, so we will say it is a short-term lease. I hope, guys, it is clear for lessee point of view. Now I'm going to talk about from lessor point of view. Okay, guys, for the lessor, I'm going to talk about for the lessor. We have overall three types. We have sale type lease, we have direct finance lease, we have operating lease. Okay, so first of all, again, which five criteria are there? Transfer of title, purchase option, 75% test, 90% test, and asset is specialized. If any one criteria is met, any one, so we will say it is a sale type lease if any of five criteria is met. But for example, if there is no TT, no purchase option, no 75% test, no 90% test, no specialized, then this asset is going to be direct finance lease or operating lease. So this is how you will decide, because here we have a complexity, and please make sure, guys, here you are understood whatever I'm going to explain here. Here, guys, first we have here three conditions for direct finance lease. We have three conditions. If these three conditions are met, okay, so we will say it is the direct finance lease. Okay, condition number one is what? The lease is not sale type lease. What does mean by not a sale type lease? Because there is no TT, no purchase option, no 75% test, no 90% test, and there is no specialized asset is not a specialized. Okay, you got my point. Sorry, asset is specialized. If I mean to say here, I'm talking about if lease is not a sale type lease, like sale means that these criteria are not met. Okay, Then second thing here, guys, this is the extra thing which you need to learn here. You have to calculate here two things. What you have to calculate? You have to calculate here present value of lease payment, I mean to say rentals, plus present value of residual value guaranteed by a third party, guys. Guaranteed by third party. You know, guys, in this 90% criteria, we took their present value of rentals plus present value of residual value guaranteed by lessee, GRV, by lessee we took there, okay, by lessee, and then you divided with the fair value, multiply by 100, you got 90%. But here what you have to do, you have to take present value of rentals, lease payments, I would say this value is the same, but this is going to be changed now. Here you have to take present value of GRV by third party, by third party, please, by third party, like here I'm talking about. Here when you talk about this present value, you have to take lease payment plus present value of GRV by a third party, not by lessee, guys, not by lessee, by a third party, and then apply the 90% test. If it is equal or greater than the fair value, okay, at the inception date, then we will say it is a direct finance lease, but third condition should met there, right? Here is the difference. So when you calculate here present value of lease payment, you need present value of lease rental plus present value of residual value or guaranteed residual value by a third party, not by lessee. And in this criteria here, we took by lessee. We took by lessee. But in this criteria, which we applying here under direct finance lease, you have to take by a third party. Okay. What I'm saying. So let me just practice it first, and then I will tell you here. For example, guys, here we have here a data company sells and lease unspecialized machines. On January 1, year 1, Dada leased a machine to Nina company for 3 annual payments of 100,000 each starting on December 31st, year 1. The machine remaining useful life is 5 years. Expected residual value of the machine, this is expected residual value, not guaranteed, is 70,000, and 45,000 of this amount was guaranteed by third party other than Nina, by third party. Guys, now here by a third party. So here you will apply 90% test now. So what you will do here, guys, simply you have to calculate the present value of rentals. Assume rentals is 100,000, multiply by annuity factor. Annuity factor I'm using here at 10%. Okay, for 3 period, this is the annuity factor. You can just go through question. So we will get this present value, and here you have to calculate present value of residual value guaranteed by a third party other than Nina, by a third party. Put this value other than Nina by third party is 45,000 times present value factor, which is given here. Okay, so you will get another present value. Just make the summation of these two, and this summation is going to become 282,494. Okay, this is going to be total present value. Now you will take total present value, which is 282,494, which is the sum of these two value. Huh? Sum of these two value is 282,494. I will say this value divided by fair value. Fair value is given here in the question, guys, somewhere. You can look fair value 300 and 1,000 in the question. This is the fair value is given here in the question. Okay, so we will divide with the fair value, and you got a 94% and it's greater than 90%. Okay, so it means this test is complete. Let me just remind you again one more time, guys, because it's a little bit hard to explain. That's why I'm repeating again and again to avoid any mistake from your side, guys. Okay, so what you have to do here? Here, first condition is what? To classify this is a direct finance lease. What we need to do? We need to check the lease is not a sale type lease. I mean, say other 5 criteria is not met. But here you are going to apply 90% test. But in 90% test, you are going to calculate present value of lease rentals plus present value of GRV by a third party and calculate the 90%. If it is more than 90%, then check the third point also. What is the third point? Third point is that, guys, it is probable, it is probable that the lease payments and any residual value guarantee will be collected. So there is a probability you will collect this value. If these three conditions are met, we will say it is a direct finance lease. Okay, if these three conditions are also not there, of course, If these three conditions are also not there, it means it's not a direct finance lease, then it should be a operating lease. So what we learned actually, let me just summarize in a flow chart here. I guess we have a picture. So here we have, here you have to check number one. This is for the lessor, lease classification for the lessor. You have to check or any of the five lease classification criteria as much five, transfer of title, 75% test, purchase option, 90% test. But in that 90% test, we have to take present value of lease rentals plus present value of residual value guaranteed by lessee, okay, or specialized nature. So if yes, criteria is met, it's a sale type lease. If criteria of those five criteria are not met, then does the lease include residual value guaranteed by third party? Yes, if lease includes by third party and answer is more than 90% of the fair value, if answer is yes, it is a direct finance lease. If this criteria is also not met, if for example lease was not classified as a sale type lease, it is not meeting 90% criteria, even the residual value guaranteed by third party you included in the calculation, it's not meeting 90% criteria, and it is probable you will collect this money. Okay, if these three conditions are also not met, then guys, what, it should be classified as operating lease. I hope guys it is clear. I tried my best. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye bye.